Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, TCG&Whiskey. We're going to be going over UFC 268. It's in Madison Square Garden. It's another crazy card, back-to-back cards. It's a good one. First, let's say thank you to our sponsor, Tampa Bless, Home Team Do Good. TampaBless.com for more information on that. Guys, let's get right into it. We got a rematch here, spectacular fashion. We got the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman. He's 19-1. He's only 34 years old. He's a minus 320 favorite, and he hasn't lost since 2013. He's going up against Kobe Chaos Covington, ranked number 1. He's 33 years old. He's a plus 250 underdog in this one. He's 16-2, and he's coming off that stoppage win against Tyrone Woodley, one of the first stoppages we saw in a long time against Woodley. Tom, how do you see this one breaking out? I don't think the bookies have it right with this line, but Kamaru just has not lost. What do you see happening?
All right. So on one side, you got the UFC middleweight champ Kamaru Usman, the Nigerian American. 6 feet tall. He holds a 4-inch reach advantage over the American Colby Covington, who's 5'9" in height. Kamaru, 34 years old, 19-1-0 overall, UFC 14-0. He's never been beaten in the UFC. He's coming off a round 2 KO by punch win over Jorge Masvidal in April 2021. This is his second title defense in 2021. This will be the same. Not many people are doing that these days. They like to almost get one in a year. Kamaru keeps it busy, and I like it. I respect him for that. On the other side, oh, by the way, Kamaru, NCAA D2 wrestling national champion and 3-time All-American. Is so strong. Both these guys strong wrestling backgrounds here. Colby Covington on the other side, 16-2-0, UFC 11-2, and one of those losses, one of his only 2 losses, is to Kamaru.
Right.
He's coming off a TKO rib injury win over Tyrone Woodley in September 2020, over a year outside of the cage for Colby now. He's the former interim UFC middleweight champ. He has NCAA D1 wrestling background and All-American honors at Oregon State University. He's had a bit of a checkered past because he was in Iowa and I believe got a DUI, and he wasn't in the rotation as much as he wanted to be, and ended up getting the opportunity over at Oregon State, which is another D1. Obviously, he had some success over there. My pick. Question is, how did Colby... We see Colby in the headlines. We don't see much training video, at least I don't, from Colby. I don't know how much Colby's progressed. I mean, if he's really stayed with big-time intensity this whole year, I mean, he could come out and really look good. He could have leveled up. I don't know. That's really kind of a question mark. You know, it's been about 13 months. Well, creeping on 14 months right now. So since his last time he appeared in the cage. Usman, we know his striking has just been progressively getting better. The guy, every time he comes in, is more dangerous. So we know that because he regularly comes in and we get to see him. Usman keeps getting better, but you know what? I'm going to go with Colby Covington by decision here.
Decision Colby. I like it. I like it. I don't think the line's right on this one. I think this is a monster rematch. I think, as you mentioned, every time out, Usman is getting better, which is scary because he was already extremely good. It keeps getting better. The first fight, super close. We know how it went. It was a 5th round finish by Usman. Very end of the 5th round finish, too. It was right there. Otherwise, we would have had a split decision in the judge's eyes. So that just tells you how close it is. I think we see the upset, too. I think Colby gets it done. I think if he didn't get a few of those shots, I know he claims he didn't have the broken jaw. People were making it up and everything like that. But you could tell he had to breathe through his mouth in that one, and he didn't look like the same gas tank. Normally, he has an incredible gas tank. And I think if Usman doesn't crack him with something that he can't breathe, I think they both have incredible gas tanks. I think Kobe's
Oh,
might
yeah.
be a little bit better. I don't think you're just going to wear out Usman, though, obviously.
No.
But I think we could see that volume go to the judge's scorecard decision. I totally agree with that. Now, the only thing here is if you're looking to lay a little bit on this one, you gotta, if you're going parlay, you gotta figure this is last night of the fight. Or last fight of the night, I mean, you got to look to almost put Kamaru in so you can hedge out with Kobe, being you're getting the plus money on him. That's all I'm saying here. But I am going to be picking Kobe for this one. I think he gets the upset. But if you're taking this one, just be careful how you take it. You might have to go the other way. Now, as far as their cards go, I think Usman gets the win here. He doesn't have many guys left to really clear out. As you mentioned, he's busy. He's beaten all the top guys. He says line them up, and he's really done his job. He's a must-buy.
Oh, I do want to note that two things. One, Kobe needs to steer clear of Usman striking his hands. That could be, like you said, as long as he doesn't really get cracked with something. I mean, that's definitely something to be look out for in this fight. But I also want to note that I hope Kamaru, and I'm sure he's not looking past Kobe, but I did see him talk about if ESPN in a way, the UFC is willing to put up $100 million, I think he stated,
right,
for him to fight Stylebender, he'll do it.
Right. I definitely don't think he's looking past Kobe. I mean, that's just a what if. I don't think so. But
And
I hear
I
you.
personally don't think he is either, but the fact is he did state that he'd be down for it, because originally it was kind of like,
well, he's
you know,
talking retirement soon. He's talking retirement soon.
But I also wanted to just note, just for something that kind of is very funny to watch, is Colby and Kamaru bring out the worst in each other. Like both of them are kind of a little bit less nonsensical when it's not against one another. Like Kamaru could be talking somewhat, he could be speaking and sounding, like everything's normal. And you bring in Kobe, and all of a sudden he starts talking crazy. And Kobe starts upping his level against Kamaru, even past his kind of seemingly normal out there level, goes even further. So these guys bring out that nonsense in each other, which is somewhat amusing, and I think it's going to bring the fans in. And hopefully they get a big pull this weekend. We'll see.
They're definitely going to get a pull. MSG is always a pull, and the rest of the cards stacked too. So I can't see them not getting a pretty good draw for this one. The tickets were like on sale for up close for like 15 G's a pop, like Conor McGregor prices. I took a look, so they're definitely getting a pull right now. I can tell you that. But back onto the card market, Usman's a buy. Listen, if he goes out and beats Covington, you really got to think he's better than George St. Pierre as a welterweight. He might be the best welterweight of all time. He might already be that. But now if he goes out and rematches the guy who gave him one of his hardest fights he's had and wins, you got to figure this guy is right there. I think this guy beats George St. Pierre, even in his prime. St. Pierre is not going to take him down the way he took down everybody else. He's bigger. He's probably stronger. I think his striking's better than GSP's. It's just you got to put a buy on the Nigerian Nightmare. I mean, not my favorite dude, but you got to respect him. The guy's incredible. He's probably the best welterweight of all time. With this win, he definitely goes right up there. If Kobe gets this win, you got to put him right there too. These guys are two of the best welterweights we've seen since GSP, and I think they both might be better than GSP. Just my opinion. I know people love GSP. He's legendary.
I'm old school, so I'm a huge Matt Hughes fan. So I'm old school. I always think Matt should be mentioned up there. Maybe not the best, but he should be up there.
I'm not saying he's not in the talks. I'm just saying, where do you rank Kamaru Usman?
No, he's right. Kamaru's up there. And Kamaru's almost entered into the zone where I used to be when Anderson Silva was in his prime.
That's what I'm talking about. Where one of potentially the greatest.
He's entering into that zone. But for me, what I was going to say is he's entering into that zone where I always regret betting against him.
Exactly. That's my point, though. That's my point. That's my point. Enough of that, though. Listen, Kobe gets this win here. I think people just got to respect him. He's got to be a buy. I think his prices spike. His prices are semi-affordable. And if he doesn't get this win, though, he has 2 losses against Kamaru, I think people start to write him off. So I think you got to hold for this fight and see if he can get the W here. 2 losses against Kamaru, it's very quick to get written off in the UFC. Doesn't mean you're not good,
I mean,
but people write you off.
If he gets the win, though, it's worth saying that it's almost guaranteed a trilogy.
Right. Nah, but I'm just saying, I got to hold on him, and with a win, I got to buy on him. He just shows his true strength and everything like that. He's unbelievable, too. Let's move it on, though. Let's get right into another championship bout, another rematch. We got the strawweights. We got Thug Rose Namajunas. She's 29 years old, super young. She's 10-4, and she is the underdog. The champ is the underdog at plus 100, and she's coming off that knockout head kick of Weili, and she's going up against Weili again, who's ranked number 1. She's 32 years old. She's a minus 120 favorite, and she's 21-2, and one of those losses was to Rose her last fight, and the other one was her very first pro debut. Tom, what do you think about this fight here? A little crazy. The champ is plus money. They always say take the champ at plus money. That's all I'm going to say.
These are great fights. UFC strawweight champ Rose Namajunas, the American, on one side. 29 years old, 5'4" in height. She holds a 2-inch reach advantage over the Chinese Weili Zhang, 32 years old, 5'3" in height. Rose is 11-4 overall, UFC 8-3. She's got a black belt in Taekwondo, black belt in Karate, brown belt in BJJ. Coming off a KO head kick win over Weili Zhang in April 2021, taking the belt. Weili on the other side. 21-2 overall, UFC 5-1. She's a purple belt in BJJ, and she's coming off the KO head kick loss to Rose in April 2021. Listen, I got to say, and it's nothing against personal with Weili, but I dig Rose's kind of anti-communist sentiment. And I also dig that Rose is kind of outspoken Christian as well. These are 2 things that I kind of like, even though I picked Weili last time to win. It's nothing personal with Weili. I just like those things about Rose. Rose, the thing is, I'm not a fan of Pat Barry. He's a weirdo. Okay? And just seeing him kind of bothers me. But the thing is, Rose is almost like an anime character when she's in there. She has that type of skill set, but Weili is just ferocious, is going to be all over her. It's a tough call, you know what? But I'm switching it up this time. I'm gonna go with the champ. I'm going with Rose. And I'm gonna go Rose with either round 2 strikes or a decision.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't argue that fact. They say take the champ if you're getting plus money on the champ. For some reason, Rose is always overlooked in the bookie's eyes. I actually bet her first fight against Joanna, when Joanna was on an 11-fight win streak. Nobody thought Rose had a shot. I took her because it was plus 600 for Rose. It was insane numbers. It was just mathematically didn't make sense to take Joanna. And she knocked out Joanna, who's got an incredible chin in her own right. So I love this rematch. I think Rose has some of the most precise, sharpest striking in the game. And the crazy part is, for a strawweight, Rose finishes a lot of girls. It's crazy. You see her, she's small, she's a very attractive girl. She gets it done, though. She finishes a lot of girls. But that being said, I don't think Weili lets the same thing happen twice. I think Weili has a chin, and I don't think you're just going to get another head crack like that against her. She's going to see it coming. I think she might be even more aggressive this time, close the distance, battle her in close. That's her best bet. Rose does not really like to get hit. If you watch her, she's one of those fighters. She likes to stay on the outside, in, out, in, out. And she's quick. She's amazing at it. But she doesn't like to get hit. She doesn't even like to fight. So it's crazy that she's this good and still stays fighting. She doesn't even like it. She'll tell you that. Unless she's changed her mind. I don't know. I actually like Weili in this one. I know I think Weili gets hit. I think Weili can walk through the punches. I don't think she can walk through kicks, obviously. But I think she can walk through the punches, hurt Rose, and win. That's how I see this one going. I think Rose is going to have to use that bicycle. I think Weili tracks her down the entire fight this time. I think she's just going to be...
No, that definitely could happen. I also want to note, though, one thing that I really saw last fight that I was like, I had picked Weili, but I had a moment when I was watching it live where I was like, Weili was in such, she seems to have such a nice spirit about her, but the crowd was totally against her, and she was kind of stunned, and I think it threw her off in the beginning of the fight. And I was kind of like, and Rose is over there going, I'm the best, I'm the best, and I was just like, here we go.
Yeah.
I had a moment of where, like, if I could switch my pick at that moment, I may have.
I took Rose in the first one. I said Rose gets the upset in the first one.
No, I know, but when you walk out there, things look one way on paper. When you get out there, like, I don't think that's going to change. I think MSG is going to be pro-thug central. It's going to be like a home field advantage for her. But I feel like Weili is going to be more prepared for the negative energy towards her.
So do I, and that's why I switched my pick on this one. And I think Weili.
And I did the other.
I mean, you got to also realize the bookies took Weili. That's saying something. They know something. I understand they make mistakes too, but I think Weili gets it done. I think the same thing does not happen twice. Now, really, I think both women are bi. I'm just going to get right into it. Both of them are bi. Weili was printed in 2019 Museum Relic as a rookie. And then she was printed again in 2020 as a rookie since she was only printing that one rare card. So she's pretty cheap. Her rookie card's pretty cheap for being such a dominant fighter. She had the belt for a little while. She's got an incredible record. She's still young enough to go out there for a few more years if she can get this win. And Thug Rose just has a loyal following. And she sleeps girls, like I said. Both times she came up for the championship belt, both times she slept them. Joanna and Weili. Incredible. Pat Barry, yeah, he's a little weird, but whatever. I'm over Pat Barry.
Go check it out, though. What was your pick now, just to clarify? It was Weili, but why what?
I think it's probably going to go decision. I think she's going to be on chasing her down the whole fight. I think Rose has too good of a bicycle. I think Weili by decision.
Okay.
But if she starts to hurt Rose, Rose does not like to get hit. I'm telling you that. Let's move right on. We got a lightweight battle. This is another really tricky one. We got two strong wrestling backgrounds, but both guys like to strike. Though I don't see this going to the ground, but you never know. We got Justin Gaethje. He's ranked number 2. He's a -210 favorite right now. He's 22-3. He's 32 years old, and he's coming off that beating by Khabib. He got mauled. Looked like he wasn't even there. I knew he was going to lose that one. I thought there was a shot, but once I realized he went out late, didn't acclimate to the climate. I've called that before. You got to acclimate when you're going on the other side of the world. You can't fly in and expect to just dominate. You got to be there a little while. Time change, weather change, everything's different. But he's going up against Michael Chandler, who's ranked number 4 right now. He's plus 175 dog. He's 22-6. He's 35 years old, and he's coming off that crazy loss to Charles Oliveira. Incredible fight there. A little weird, but what a fight that was. Really, for Do Bronx.
Oh, yeah.
What do you see happening here?
Well, we got Justin Gaethje, American on one side, 32 years old, 5'9" in height. Michael Chandler, the American on the other side, 35 years old, 5'7" in height. He holds a 1.5-inch reach advantage. Justin Gaethje, NCAA D1 wrestling background with All-American status. He's coming off a triangle choke loss to Khabib in October 2020, over a year off, similar to Kobe. Michael Chandler on the other side. Oh, Justin Gaethje, 22-3 overall. UFC, though, all 3 of his losses, 5-3. So it's kind of like one of those things where you're undefeated coming into the UFC, but then deeper waters, and it kind of gave a little check on that record. Other side, Michael Chandler, 22-6 overall. You know what? I don't know what the heck I was thinking. I forgot to note his UFC record, but I think it's 1-1.
1-1.
Yeah, because he hasn't been around that long, so I don't even need to because I can remember both fights. He just got here. He's coming off a TKO punches loss to Charles Oliveira on May 2021. He almost had that fight in the first round. He could have been champ with a little bit more strikes in there. Charles survived and then turned the tide. That was a really good fight. He's got a D1 wrestling background with All-American honors as well. So you got D1 versus D1 here. My pick, I think it's going to be fireworks. So I'm going to go with Chandler by TKO punches round 1 or a decision.
I mean,
I'm going with Chandler.
I kind of like it. Gaethje's got a serious chin, but I kind of like it. This is intriguing to me because, honestly, I know we've seen Michael Chandler, but we don't really know enough about Chandler fighting the top guys. He was in Bellator too long. He goes out, he gets a great shot against Hooker, which, I mean, you get that shot against anyone, I mean, you're going to drop him. Then he goes out against Charles, and he doesn't get the finish. He dropped Charles, no question about that. It looked like he was going to finish that fight, but he didn't. And he lost to Pitbull, the other top dude. Pitbull's really a smaller dude. He's like a featherweight. So we really haven't seen him fight all these top guys yet. That's the problem I have. I know he's got a lot of fights. I know he's fought some good guys in other organizations. But we haven't seen him fight the top in the UFC over and over again. Really changes, just like you mentioned with Gaethje. Comes in the UFC 5-3, undefeated before that. It's a very different battlefield when you get in here. He's got that knockout power, though. Both guys really have that knockout power. I'm not going to lie. I get the feeling Chandler has a shot in the first round for the knockout. If you can't put Gaethje away, as long as Gaethje comes in shape, doesn't come looking like that Khabib fight where he just got struck by the money there. It didn't even look like he tried in that fight. It was really bad. I think Gaethje can pull off this victory here. I think he can take Chandler to the deeper waters because Chandler's he doesn't have that gas tank. He's so stocky and built, 35 years old. He's got that explosiveness in his muscles, and then he gasses. That you could see the lactic acid build up in him. You could see it when Charles got him with that one good punch. He was just so gassed, It didn't matter what he did. He wasn't getting back up. I think that's the problem. I think Chandler has a shot in the first round, and then the tides really change over to Gaethje's world because Gaethje's got the gas tank to go 5 rounds. We've seen him. When he went up against Ferguson and just mauled him for 5 rounds, that was some effort there.
That was terrible.
Terrible for Ferguson. But
he probably just had sore shoulders. He threw so many punches.
And he was landing bombs on him. I think that can happen in this one. I don't think Chandler has the gas tank. I think he's got to go for that first round knockout, which he could do, but Gaethje's got the chin. So my money would be on Gaethje in this one. I don't really like this line. I'd probably take this one live, see how it goes, maybe sprinkle a little on Chandler first for the first round knockout, and then if it goes to the second round, I got to start switching. I got to go to Gaethje. I'm taking Gaethje. I'm saying maybe a third round finish for Gaethje. That's how I like it. As far as their card market goes, for me, both of these guys are holds right now. One of them has to get the belt to really get their fan base up a little bit. I feel like that's the problem. They both come right up, and then they get shot down. They don't have the belt, and the belt in Bellator does not count. All right, let's move it on. I love both these guys fighting in this next one. This might be my fight of the night for me. We got a featherweight battle. We got Shane Burgos, ranked 14. He's 13-3. He's 30 years old. He's a -195 favorite, and he's on a 2-fight losing streak. But that was against Barbosa and Josh Emmett, 2 absolute monsters. He's going up against Billy Q, Quarantillo here, +165. He's 16-3. He's 32 years old, and he's coming off that TKO win against Gabriel Benitez. Tom, how do you see this one playing out? We got a couple boys from my neck of the woods over here.
Oh, mine as well.
This is not your neck anymore.
Both for me because Billy Q's Tampa.
Yeah, he's Tampa now.
He trains out of his black belt is out of Gracie, South Tampa, under Matt Arroyo, who used to be in the UFC, and that's right down, 10 minutes from me. Shane Burgos, where I used to live in Orange County, he trains. I was up in Newburgh, lived for a while and taught there. And you have Shane Burgos, originally from the Bronx, though, so his MSG family might be a little bit. The roots are going to be a little bit probably deeper there. I don't really know. I can't say that for sure. Originally from the Bronx, though, but training up in Monroe, Orange County, New York, which is much closer to the city than Buffalo, where Billy is from originally. Billy's from Buffalo, way over on the left side of New York, the west side out there, north of like Cleveland, over there on the Great Lakes. But anyway, Shane Burgos, the American, 30 years old, 5'9" in height. He holds a 5.5-inch reach advantage over the American Billy Quarantino, who's 5'8" in height. Shane Burgos, 13-3 overall. UFC, 6-3. He's a black belt in Tiger Schulman's MMA, and he's coming off a KO punches loss to Edson Barbosa in May 2021 and 2 losses in a row. Billy Quarantino on the other side, 32, 16-3 overall, 4-1 in the UFC. He has a black belt in BJJ, like I said, under Matt Arroyo out of Gracie, South Tampa. Coming off a TKO punches win over Gabriel Benitez in July 2021. Man, both these guys are originally from New York, and it's at MSG. The amount these guys are not going to want to lose is going to be probably higher than the normal amount they don't want to lose, even though that amount is already extreme. These dudes are winners. If you were to tell either one of these dudes, do you think, and in a very honest opinion, that you're going to win this fight? Absolutely. That's how these dudes think, and that's how most all these fighters think on this card. They don't have a doubt in their mind, and that's how they got to be like that. They go out like that. So Tampa in the house. Shout out to Billy Q. Orange County in the house as well with Shane. You know, I think Shane is the toughest opponent Billy Q has faced yet in his career. Billy Q, on the other hand, might not be the toughest opponent Shane has faced.
No, definitely not.
I think that, and that is, I think, could be the difference here. But Billy Q's on the rise as well. So this is really tough, you know. But I'm going to go with Shane by decision.
All right. Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. I don't know if we see a decision, but I got to go Burgos. Burgos, I feel, has pretty much. He's a few steps ahead in the stand-up game over Billy Q. And Billy Q's probably a few steps ahead on the ground game. But as we know, first you got to get it to the ground. And Burgos is not going to just fold over and go to the ground. I think he's got enough takedown defense to withhold Billy Q's attempts to get him to the ground. And even if you do get him to the ground, the next round, you're on your feet. Big disadvantage to me for Billy Q, who wants to wrestle, wants to get the fight to the ground, wants to use his jiu-jitsu and everything else. Burgos has, as you mentioned, a big reach advantage. He's been in there with top-ranked dudes. Edson Barbosa has been a killer for ages in the UFC. Josh Emmett is a killer in the UFC. We just haven't seen much of him lately. He was unbelievable for a little while there. I think he can still come back and be unbelievable. He's been in there with top guys. I think Burgos is going to pull this victory off. I'm not saying he's going to finish Billy Q either, but I think Burgos has a big advantage on the feet, takes advantage of that, and gets this victory by decision. I think Billy Q is just going to have a hard time trying to get him to the ground is the problem. Now, the card market, neither guy's printed, but I can almost guarantee you we're going to see both of these guys printed. Probably in next year's Prism is when we'll see both of these guys printed. And depending on how this fight goes, these guys could be buys. They're both very good. Burgos is only 30 years old, and he looks incredible. I heard a few guys call him chinny, and it's like he's been walking down guys' shots. Yeah, he's been knocked out, but he's definitely not chinny. The guy eats all these shots. It's crazy, actually. That's
a good way to be. That's a good way to become chinny, though. You don't want to.
Right. Well, we don't want him to become chinny, but he's got a pretty damn good chin as far as I see it. He just it takes a little too many sometimes. That's my opinion. I think both guys will be printed in Prism. I don't know if Billy Q is going to have enough.
I'm a big fan of both these guys.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough, but that's my pick.
I'm with you. I agree. Burgos is the pick on that one. I'll probably be sprinkling on Burgos. I think he should get the decision in that one. I don't think Billy Q has the hands to keep up is the problem. Now we got another fight that's a legend versus an up-and-comer. We got a bantamweight battle. Frankie Edgar He's ranked number 8. He's a plus 150. He's 40 years old. He's 24-9-1, and he's lost 4 out of his last 6. Now, just to mention, this is a bantamweight bout. Frankie was a lightweight, then a featherweight, and now he's down to a bantamweight. Very unique for a guy to go down 2 weight classes at 40 years old. Most guys go up. There's only a few that really go down, and for good reason. You got to be faster the smaller you go. Most of these guys are so quick. He's going up against Marlon Vera. You know, we know Cheeto, who's
Cheeto.
Yeah, I like it. He's ranked 13 right now. He's a minus 170 favorite. He's 28 years old. He's 17-7-1, and he last beat Davy Grant, which is incredible. We also know he has a victory over Sugar Sean O'Malley. So the guy's in there with some good guys. I mean, he hasn't met anyone like Frankie's ability, but Frankie's 40. You think he's still got it in the tank here at 40 years old, or what do you see happening, Tom?
All right, so you got Frankie Edgar, the American on one side, 40 years old, 5'5" in height. The Ecuadorian Marlon Cheeto Vera, 28 years old, on the other side, 5'7" in height. Marlon holds a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Frankie's 23-9-1 overall, 18-9-1 in the UFC. He's a first-degree black belt in BJJ, and he has an NCAA D1 wrestling background. He's coming off a brutal round 1 KO flying knee loss to Corey Sandhagen in February 2021. Only losses in his career, though, if you look at every single one and you name them out loud, or you just read them in your mind, they're straight killers. The dude has not lost to one can. All right, everyone is a killer that he's lost to. On the other side, you got Marlon Vera, 17-7-1 overall, 11-6 in the UFC. He's a black belt in BJJ, and he's coming off that decision win over a very game Davy Grant. Marlon's definitely been improving. He's never been finished either, which is worth noting.
Crazy chin.
Cheeto may be able to wear Frankie down and win via decision. I don't know, because Frankie's in great shape, though. This could be a retirement bout for Frankie if he loses, or maybe even if he wins. I doubt it, though. If he wins, he'll probably continue on. But if he loses, it could be a retirement bout, because he's been trying his hand at different weight classes. He's getting older. He wants to see if he can get it to work somewhere. That said, you know what? I'm going with Frankie by decision here. I think he's going to get into like maybe a Pedro Munoz type situation and end up winning. As long as he doesn't get slept, I think he could win.
Frankie, I could see it. He's got to be heavy wrestling. And does he have the gas tank?
He's got to be quick. The quick in and out. The quick in and out. Just like that.
I think he's got to wrestle.
I could picture it being like that.
I think he's got to wrestle.
Oh, you think he has to wrestle? I could see him standing the whole time.
I see Frankie starting to age out. I know he hasn't lost the cans, but I don't think Marlon Vera is a can by any means.
I'm not calling him a can either, but I'm just saying Frankie's never all the people on the list.
But Marlon, as you mentioned, never finished. He's got a freakish chin. So Frankie's not going to go out there and knock out Marlon Cheeto Vera. I just don't see that happening. No. Guys aren't doing it. It's not easily done. He's got great work ethic. I think a few of his losses, I think he lost to like Song Yadong, and I thought that was a crazy weird one of those judges cards where he kind of got robbed on it. But whatever, neither here nor there. He's got crazy leg kicks to slow guys down. I think Frankie's got to go out there and wrestle to have a shot. But as we all know, if you wrestle for 3 rounds, you're exhausted. Can you do that at 40 years old versus a very game, up-and-coming opponent in Marlon? I don't think he can. I think this is where we start to see Frankie finally show some age. I think going down in weight, this is his right weight class. I think he should have been a bantamweight years ago. I think this is it for him. I think he could have had an amazing career here. I mean, he had an amazing career at a lightweight.
Frankie's a Hall of Famer. End of story. It's not even up for grabs. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's going to the Hall of Fame. But everybody gets old, and that's to go down in weight. You really have to be faster, and you're not getting faster at 40.
Oh no, I agree. There's no question. It's
not like he's going up, and you can lose a step. The more you go up, it gets a little slower. This is the total opposite. Cheeto's got great leg kicks, and I just see Cheeto finishing this in maybe the second round. Now, I don't think Cheeto has like that knockout power per se, but he knows if he hurts someone, he goes for the kill. He doesn't play with his food. He goes for the kill. He wants to win.
And if Jason Herzog is there, you only got to land about 5 strikes in a row, and he'll call it.
Right. So I think Cheeto gets the finish in this one, and I think, as you mentioned, Frankie starts to contemplate retirement. Now, for me personally,
I see it. I just want to mention, I don't see it as a takedown. That Frankie needs a takedown. I think Frankie, in my mind, see it as a point fight, and Frankie outpoints him and wins the decision.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna see about that one. I don't see that happening. We're gonna have a friendly bet on the sidelines for this one, guys. This will be a sidelines bet. We're gonna get in this. This to me though is Cheeto Vera. I think Cheeto is just a very slow starter. Is his problem?
And Cheeto's gotten a lot better. I already mentioned that he's progressing.
He's progressing, but he's still a very slow starter.
Cheeto loses, even if he loses, he's not. That's not the end of Cheeto Vera. Cheeto Vera's evolving.
Right. So
he's only 28 years old.
Cheeto was just printed. I think Cheeto was printed in Select. He didn't even make the Prism set. I think he's only an autograph. Listen, I like Cheeto. I got a hold on him. I can't put a buy on him just yet. Frankie Edgar, on the other side, though, he's legendary. As you mentioned, he's going to the Hall of Fame. I'm going to use this time at the end of the video here to say, though, the problem is with a lot of the older Hall of Fame guys, besides a few of the monsters, Brock Lesnar, who's in another sport, such like that Cain Velasquez, who wrestles in another sport, who get publicity elsewhere. UFC just wasn't big enough at those times to really make those guys super investable anytime in the near future. Yeah. Whereas now there's millions and millions of more eyes on the sport being in ESPN. It's a totally different game for these modern fighters. Instagram, Facebook, all these things that weren't around back then to broadcast these guys all over the place. So I don't have a buy on too many older guys, even though I loved them. Anderson Silva, Frankie Edgar. I just want to throw that in there. A lot of those guys are not very investable because of that. Now, like I said, Brock Lesnar, he was in WWE. The guy was a champ in multiple things. I know the WWE is not exactly real, but he still was broadcast worldwide for years and years and years, and then becomes a champ.
He's a huge follower.
Right. He already had it. It's a little different for a few of those guys. But these other smaller guys like Frankie Edgar, people are only going to see his last 4 out of 6 fights, those losses, and they're going to judge him on that because that's when a lot of guys are starting to watch. So just be careful with the older guys. That's all I'm saying.
No, I totally agree with that sentiment, but I also just look from baseball cards over the years. I've been into that hobby for a long time in my youth. What happened kind of was if you held on to some PC like Frankie Edgar or some of these other guys that you're not looking to necessarily sell right now, they could come into like vogue, almost like trend later on, years from now, if the UFC is still hitting, where they kind of become like, you know, like these Mickey Mantle types.
I mean, they could. I'm not going to take that away, but baseball has been America's pastime for, I mean, it's starting to slowly fade now, but it's been America's pastime for years and years and years. That's what I mean. They already had following for baseball. So those guys were super collectible. Then UFC was only printed in tops they didn't really take care of it like they took care of their baseball. They kind of treated it as the ugly stepchild when they could have actually,
no, they did.
They could have made it a gem and really pumped up the UFC cards and really focused on those and maybe not even have lost the contract and seen the writing on the wall that UFC was growing. So that's all behind closed doors. I'm not involved in that, but that's just how I see it.
No, and I totally agree because Mantle and a lot of those guys, at least if you go to those really big worth the value cards, those guys were also iconic.
Iconic, right.
Very
totally
much
different.
Influence, you know. Yeah, it's totally different. But you do have some, in between Mantle and like current times, you have some guys in that period that may have been deemed not as valuable during their playing time, even though they were seen as people that may make the Hall of Fame or probably are shoo-ins. That value has gone up. So I don't know. You know, the UFC is still kind of early on as far as the hobby goes. So we'll see. But I completely agree with what you just said is in terms of current value.
Right. Well, guys, don't forget, like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.